Next panel session has Tschudy. Daniel's already here as a moderator. Daniel is associated with about cross-culture and the global hospitality business. Panelists include Mr. Satish Chander. Mr. Satish Chander is Director General of the Fertiliser Association of India since the year 2008. In his career of over 30 years, he's held various positions with the Government of India and has worked in a number of ministries in the Government of India. Can I please call upon Arlene to join the panelists as well? We all remember Arlene from yesterday. She's the chairperson of the ASAE. And our last panelist for this discussion is Mr. Nalin Kohli, President of the Association of Small and Medium Knowledge Industries.
There was somebody missing? Somebody missing? 4 people? We've had 4 people on the panel. Who is not here?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. So after Ed, the Incredible, it's back to serious work, no? It's very difficult after him. I cannot entertain the same way, so let's go a little bit to business, to serious, to details. No, it is serious, but a little bit specific to details. We're not talking about cross-culture, we're talking about cross-generations. And I think one issue that we have in Asia, in Africa, that we have very few young people in the associations. In general, if I look at our average age, and I think about the young people, the young talents, I see a time difference of 20 or 30 years. And the young people we saw with Ed on his picture was probably 30 years old, very likely. That person is not part of our associations. So what's going to happen to the future? Because we have obviously elder people dropping out, getting out of the business, retiring, losing interest, and we all have a hard time getting young people back into the association. Today's topic is therefore how can we close that gap, bridge that differences. And I had just taken a few notes. If I compare young people of today's world, if I can, with our community. I was writing down quality versus quantity. We're searching here for quality, and as you know, our children often go for quantity, for fast information, quick, superficial, access to the key points, and the next. Another element is also our young people around the world, maybe in Europe a little bit more than in Asia, losing loyalty. We function with loyalty. We function with relationship. We function in the community. This is one of the main reasons that we meet. And young people come in, they enjoy something. It's a celebration, it's a test, it's a trial, and then they go on. So loyalty versus community. Virtual versus personal. Young people have learned to consume everything on the net. Not everything, but most of it. Reality, you can stay home. We've heard dreadful stories in China and in Japan. And also I think a little bit in India, where young people are bound to internet and live their life there. They cannot yet eat out of internet, but they soon can. They can at least order the food, and the food is being delivered home. Pizza service was number 1, and it's going to move into any business, any food outlets. Next point, we have learned to spend time and money to travel. We travel here, we come to Jaipur, but what does it mean for us, for example, from foreign country? It means basically 1 week investment. So we spend the time and we do the travel efforts. And I think there we have something which includes also patience to travel. Because if I want to speak here, if I want to meet somebody of you, I have to start traveling yesterday. And I will have to make an effort of 10, 12, 14 hours in total in order to be here. And you know, obviously, younger generation would ignore that. They don't have to do this anymore. Welcome to Skype. And they're quite happy to interchange on Skype. Another point, 24/7 for the young people, 4 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, anytime, doesn't matter, even between the breaks. Or in fact, I give lectures and I see my students using their smartphone and their laptop, and they're replying to Facebook while they were taking a lesson. Our generation, we have clear concepts, we have programs. It used to be Monday to Friday, certain time sectors, lunch, dinner, a concept. That's all gone. Then, of course, I talk about fees and not fees. We've heard that before. And maybe also the ability to work with electronic tools in order to get information, be it laptop and iPad and so forth, and retrieving information, sending messages, doing the blogs, doing the Twitter messages, etc., etc. I think there they also have a strong ability, which is much, much stronger than ours. So I see quite a different world. And yet, we don't have these young people in our associations. Most of the associations, even tourism and the conference business, do not have or do have very little young people, a very small number of young people. You can compensate these cooperations with universities, with talent institutions, etc., but it is a problem. So that's the topic. I would like to give this panel the opportunity, maybe 3-4 minutes each, to sort of go into the issue and tell us your thoughts. I would ask you last, and would start with you, as both gentlemen first. What is your opinion? How do you get young people into the association? And maybe also specifically, what's the situation here in India?
Well, I thought probably I'll be speaking on something different, but since you have introduced the subject, well, as far as the young people in association which I represent a very unique association which probably is different from most of the association in some way. Well, some of the functions which we all are doing, but my association is the work which we do is something different, because the sector which I represent in Government of India, and particularly for the foreign guest, the Fertiliser Association of India, this sector, well, we are totally controlled sector as of now. And if I look at the total revenue of my industry, well, there was a time when 80% will come through the government subsidy. So, well, there are a lot of issues on that, but since that's not the topic for discussion, I will come to that. As far as the fertilizer sector is concerned, which is a vital input for the agriculture production, and as far as the agriculture is concerned, it's very important for us in India, and it is directly linked to the food security. Well, if I look at the farmers who are my end users, we have 130 million farmers in this country, directly, farm holdings. Now, if you are specifically talking of the young people coming to the association, well then, if I look at my FAI association, we have a total staff of 80 people. We do recruit young people, and the young engineers are coming, they work with us, and we as an association are doing a lot of work in the sense of inducing efficiency. We are promoting competition through a number of programs. We have no problem of the revenues. So young people are coming. If I look at my industry, well, we had 150 plants in the country. And if I go back to the agriculture, that's a vast sector. So young people are coming, and we don't have any much issues. If I look at the workshops and the training programs which I conduct for the young executives who come and manage our plants, do marketing, work in whole of the sector. So, and the new areas which are developing now as far as the environment, safety, etc., we are working. We are having young people. So it's...
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The question obviously is I've pushed towards the next generation joining the association business, because for them it is the question, what can they gain from us and why would they join our associations, and how you motivate them to come in here beyond, of course, the networking. Thank you very much. What is your view on that?
Maybe the situation in India is not what you see in the West. I have been associated with two of the larger associations in the country. I've been on the National Board of Confederation of Indian Industry and also on SHM, which are the larger associations. Every year there we take a number of young professionals, and maybe the availability in India of young people is much higher who are willing to make a career in association work. And in the Export Promotion Council and my small and medium association also, we find that young people come. You have a different kind, people who have done their post-graduation in economics, for example, take naturally to association work. And if you have a bright young MBA, he may like to go to the industry. But a very bright postgraduate in economics may prefer to work for the association. So I guess I would not like to say that young talent is not joining associations here. They are. But when you're talking at the CEO level, you person who heads the staff function, I guess getting people at that level, because they tend to stay for a very long time, and so you would find older CEOs and not young CEOs there. So to that extent, I would agree with you. But broadly, you do see a lot of intake of young people into association.
In Europe, the situation is in certain industries like that young people may want to join, they may want to apply for a sponsored annual membership participation. They might be very excited about it, but then they run off to the next opportunity in life. And in tourism as well, in conference industry, we lose talents. We lose a lot of talents. We lose them, of course, in their employment, but we also lose them in the society, because in the community rather, sorry, because they want to come in, they do this business for 2 or 3 years, they think it's a lot of fun, but then they realize something, and that has been the case in Japan, this has been the case in Europe, that the average age of members in a series of associations is 55 or 60 years old. So the young community, the young people would come in and sort of not feel too comfortable, because there is quite a gap, a generation gap between the young people and the old people, and unless they can intermix, you will lose them eventually again, but certainly after second or third year when they have to continue to pay their membership fee. Arlene, what is your point on that? And in America also, how does it work?
If I could just maybe briefly comment on my organization, and then I'd like to offer some broader comments. I can't offer the perspective Satish and Nalin have offered, about India, but I think some of the thoughts I have may be broad and generally applicable. But specific to my organization, American Speech Language Hearing Association, we're an individual membership organization. We're very fortunate that we have a very positive distribution of ages across our organization, very well balanced. So as we look at the number of individuals who are new in their career between you earn a graduate degree in audiology or speech language pathology before coming into our profession. So beginning in the early 20s through 20 to maybe 25 to 35, and then going each of those age cohorts. It's a very well distributed. So we're very fortunate that we have a nice balance across different ages. And I think there's a reason for that. And so to speak to that, let me make just a couple of quick comments in terms of context, expectations, and value or relevance. So in terms of context, the world is different than when we began our careers, and it's different for all of us. Now, one of the reasons why I think it has more impact on, quote, a younger generation is because that's all that they've known, or most of what they've known, in terms of how they function. But for all of us now, the knowledge of the world is available to us. We can connect with whoever we want to, whenever we want to. Time and space are more relevant. We can connect virtually, we can accomplish our work remotely. So this is the world all of us live and function in. And our organizations, I think, need to embrace that and understand it. And yes, I think there's a predominance of some of those expectations play out differently across generations, but they are the reality of how the world functions. So I don't think it's only a generational factor. I do think that there are some different expectations that come with that openness and that availability of information and those choices that we all now have. There's expectations around transparency, some of the ways that our organizations have functioned in the past where decision-making was held in a small group and there wasn't as much openness. I think we all need to be much more open in how we share information. I think we also need to find ways to encourage and create the opportunity for people who wish to participate. The kind of more traditional ways of decisions being made, of products and resources being developed. People want to be involved in different ways. They want to help co-create, and there are many ways to make that available. So I think expectations are different. I also think in terms of the issue of relevance and value, and we've heard it several times over the past day, what's in it for me? We need to really be thoughtful so that there is truly value. And one of the reasons why I think in an organization like mine, the what's in it for me, is that we try people need. So we've tried to be relevant in that regard. And I want to underscore also expectations that we heard conversation yesterday in the panel in terms of socially responsible. There is a different mindset, I think, yes, among younger generation, and I think many of us today than perhaps. It's a more explicit awareness of not only what's in it for me, but how is this organization and the activities of the organization helping to make this a better world? What's the value that's being delivered? So I think that's another way that we need to be really thoughtful about the things that we're doing and how we connect. And the last comment I'll make is we all have access to lots of information and lots of people. And one of the powerful things that I believe our organizations can do, and many of us do well, is to, within that wide spectrum of people that folks can connect with, our communities, our networks can help connect people who have more in common, who have a common professional interest or an interest in an industry or an interest around a cause. So I think that vetting of the individuals that you connect with and the curation of the information, there's an overwhelming amount of information out there that all of us are aware of, and a role that our organizations can play and play very well is to say, here's the information, of all the information that's out there, here's the information that's going to be most useful to you, that's going to be most helpful to you. It doesn't say that we're not respecting the other information, but we're helping to be clear about that information that's going to be most relevant, most helpful to folks in our professions or our industry.
Yeah, thank you. I just have 2 or 3 thoughts. First of all, that sounds to me that the younger generation, in terms of benefits, they would expect that the associations, and I'm not talking about your association in general, would have to become more sexier maybe. They would need to be a little bit more entertained. They would maybe want to have more personal benefit for the momentum, and they might feel that associations are possibly a little bit too traditional for them, too administrative. And on the same time, they cannot go into management of association because, as you know, management is 50, 55, 60, 65 years old. So unless they find a new platform, they cannot put themselves visual, they cannot put themselves in evidence. That would obviously invite young talent program, that would invite breakout sessions for the younger people, and some entertainment in terms of education that suits a generation which is 25 or 30 years old. And they consume even education differently than we consume education. I just have a thought to you, or a question maybe to you. Would that mean for young people that as long as you have traditional membership where you sort of commit yourself for 1 year, that they would need tailor-made membership where they can just pick a few issues or just pay by a service that they consume? We have some associations, they distribute knowledge on the net, for example, and then you have to download it and you have to pay for it, and then you give a new generation the idea that they pay only for what they want and not for an organization that they possibly don't want. So maybe they download a document and they have to pay $5 or $10, or they can get a reduction from their annual fee if they do a particular work. So I just say maybe the traditional way, sometimes it's difficult for the young people to motivate them to come into an association because they would like to be entertained in a faster fashion, in a quicker fashion, and not do so much the formal process of serving a community. We have time for some questions. I'd like you to just ask one question, just one question at one time, and address it to one of the panelists directly so we can speed up. We have only a few minutes left. So any questions on the topic? I would like to again say what can we do for the young people to join them, to make them come to us, to make them participate in the associations, and maybe have some thoughts or some questions and you can address it. Now I don't see very well here. Do we have a microphone?
Can I raise a question?
Where's the mic? Sir, yes? Do we have a microphone?
Yes. To your right. Over this, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, sir.
Yes, there's a lot of emphasis on youngsters, but still the gray hairs and no hairs also have a lot of experience back to, that's why they lost their hair. There should be a proper mix should be there, that's what I'm saying. It should not be all youngsters only.
Thank you.
I think, or let me put the question, that do you think that culture of the country plays very important role in this particularly youngsters joining the association or joining the membership like that? Yeah.
For me, yes, absolutely, because I would not feel that when my experience, for example, in China, or my experience also in Africa is not the same than the experience that I have in Europe. I've been serving associations in Europe for the last 25 or 30 years, and I've seen an overaging process to the point that when members drop out for whatever retirement reason or demotivation reason, or maybe because they move to a different profession, it's not being replaced by young blood. I would imagine possibly in India that's not the case, but in Europe, yes, that's the case. It becomes a very competitive thing. And we heard this morning from Ed, and we heard it yesterday, that you have to sell your association, that you have to battle for new members. This is about an identity that has to become more commercial or more, aggressive commercial in order to create the identity of to guarantee the future of your association. But I'm sure there are lots of differences between the continents. How, in America, in general, you feel it's not the case, right? You feel that people follow into the associations?
Yeah, I think that our data would suggest that.
And why is that? Because because you're selling more aggressively? You're promoting, are Americans Association promoting themselves more to the point, like Ed was showing just?
I think there's some level of promotion, but I also think there's a real effort to try to understand what is valuable and what is relevant. You know, it's a different mindset. I would agree with the comments that were made. I think it was Ed who made the comment that, you know, in the past, there's been sort of a mindset of it's my professional duty to be involved in my industry, my trade association or my professional association. And now I think there's more of a need for all of us to be able to demonstrate the value. You know, what is it that we do that adds value to the individual and to their and to the industry itself. So I think there's we're held to a higher standard, and that's not a bad thing. I would like to just challenge one thing that I think I heard you say, Donald, and that was about moving into leadership roles, management roles, you know, in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And I notice differences in that regard. I think that folks are able to assume leadership roles both on the volunteer and the staff level at ages. I think age is less of a factor than it is about the skill that the person brings. Mm-hmm. I know in my both volunteer and my staff experience, there are lots of things that I learned from other people without regard to the age. Mm-hmm. And hopefully there are things people can learn from me. But I think that kind of traditional view of there is definitely wisdom and experience, and that's as the gentleman pointed out to us, and there's a great value to that. And there's a great value to difference of perspective and difference of experience, and there are things that I know I have learned from people who are much younger than me that have been really valuable to me.
Absolutely. Yes, sir?
I would only like to add, I think what we are talking and discussing is in a very general terms. We have to be a little more specific to understand as to why the young people are not coming. Now, I give you my own example. Now, if in my association, I have a different division. I have a technical division where I need engineers and technocrats. I have environment division. I have safety division. I have policy division. Now, if you look at the young people joining the association, if it is at a general level, at the clerical level, at the secretarial level, there is no dearth. You get so much recommendations for appointment for a job. But when it comes to technical and professional jobs, now the question is whether an association, there is only 2 or 3 people in one division, and whether you can attract the best talent. And even if you get the best talent, whether they will continue to work with you, because the opportunities are so huge, both nationally and internationally, that the most talented people, it is very difficult to attract them and to retain them in an association where, well, you can pay them, but the level through which they can move is very limited. But having said that, I have an example in my own association where the technical people who joined were from the best of the IITs Delhi, studied overseas, and continue to work with the association. So there are exceptions where the people, and they could have gone to any one of the best organizations nationally, internationally. They have gone overseas, studied overseas, but still continue to work for the association for 25, 30 years. But as a whole, if you ask me, associations do not provide any lucrative professional career to young, bright people.
Thank you.
Only at the people at the lower level, yes, they will come, they will be retained, but the talent at the highest level has to come through different mode. It cannot be a career, you can have the people. If you look at my association, now even at the highest level, the people who have come, and other people simply cannot deliver. Ex-secretaries to Government of India has come, who have been the Director General, Chief Secretaries. I myself was the bureaucrat. If you bring someone, simply because the nature of the work is like that, he cannot be effective. So you cannot view in a very generalistic term. You have to see the specific association, the work which is being done, where do they interact, what is expected of them, what the industry looks from them. If you take my case, our biggest problem is how to deal with the government authorities, how to recover 80%, 70%, 60% of the money which is due to the industry. So, having said that, well, apart from that, now there are different regulators are coming. You have to deal with the regulators, you have to deal with the competition law, you have to deal internationally. There are cartels for the industry, both internationally, how to deal with them. So there are huge things where professional and technical people are required, and they cannot come by starting at the lowest level and remaining in the association for 30 years. Simply it will not work.
Thank you. I have to stop you short because I'd like to give you, we're over time already. Would you like to contribute?
Thank you. I would say the issues which Ed raised are equally relevant in the Indian context. I see no difference at all in terms of people would like to see value to join an association. But definitely in a trade association, I think I need to qualify this. In a trade association, and I think the good example would be CII, which is the largest association here. I see a lot of intake of young people. I don't even see a lot of attrition. They continue in that career. But maybe the association of individuals and professionals would be a little different from that. So I guess I need to qualify my comments. So what I was talking about is a trade association, and association of professionals. Probably you need to relate to the professional body that you are trying to serve, and maybe there's a disconnect because of age there.
Yeah.
But in a trade association, I don't see that, and I would agree with Arlene. We have a mix of old and young, and I don't see that as an issue. But in a association of individuals and professionals, you know, association of surgeons, the pediatric people, maybe that's more relevant there.
Thank you very much. Time is up.